Pokemon Emerald with only one Shedinja was my most requested for its brutality, but it's time for my second most requested for its absurdity. Today is the day that we figure out would I be able to beat Pokemon Fire Red while only using Metronome. I'm pretty sure you all requested this as a joke more than anything. Metronome just randomly selects almost any other move in the game. Also, it only has 10 uses, so I'll be constantly having to refill it. We even have to use it for grinding, so that's gonna be a pain as we'll be continually doing non-damaging moves. This is gonna be a really weird one. Like always, I'm writing this script as I go through with the challenge, so all of this part is being written before I've started. Everyone comment down below and guess if you think I can win or not. I'm sure I can win, eventually. It's all about doing it enough times so that the right moves occur. Let's explain the rules. In combat, I can only use Metronome. I can only use other moves to level up until my first Pokemon has Metronome. Then I can only use Metronome in combat. And of course I can use HMs outside of combat, but not in battle itself. The moment I have Metronome on one Pokemon, it's all I can use. No glitches or exploits, no items in battle, only Pokeballs, held items, and items outside of combat are allowed. Let's do this. So I use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Squirtle with Clefairy. I name our Clefairy Comments because it's a total mixed bag. You never know what you'll get. Ours is naughty nature, so more attack and less special defense, and I'm fine with that. We have Cute Charm, an awesome ability where Pokemon of the opposite gender who hit us might become infatuated and have a 50% chance to miss their turn. Very powerful. Right away, I have to start grinding. So here's our level up move list. As you can see, we don't learn Metronome until level 29. Considering this is a Metronome-only challenge, that's a problem. So what I'm gonna have to do for the sake of fairness is I refuse to do any gym leader battles until I have Metronome. That way, you guys get to experience the wackiness of random moves in every single major fight of the game. Considering that's probably why you all requested the run, I think that's the right thing to do. Mind you, leveling up to level 29 on Pokemon before the first gym is absolutely awful, but Clefairy is a fast-leveling Pokemon. On one hand, I had to be level 35 before the first gym in my previous run, but at least in that the wild Pokemon were up to level 8. Here, they only go up to level 6, and are generally worth less experience in the first place. I don't really know what grind takes longer, all I can tell you is that it's incredibly slow. It gets speed up slightly thanks to learning Double Slap, so I have an extra 10 power points of attacking moves after Pound runs out, but I still have to take frequent trips to the Poke Center, and you don't get the running shoes until after Brock, so this is brutally slow. If you want to see what True Pain looks like, it's watching that experience bar tick up pixel by pixel once my level is in the 20s. Grand total, the grind took about 6 hours. It just felt like 100. I watched a lot of YouTube during this grind when I stumbled across the fact that Mark Andrews does a series on YouTube where him and his friends laugh at their first ever wrestling matches. Travis, how could you hide this from me? This is incredible.
Take that. Sign up in the room. He's a rope break, surely. Oh no, he's not.
What is the ref doing?
Here's the last 15 minutes of the grind. I think I got paralyzed by 2 different Pikachu static ability right near the end. Every time that happens, it slows the run down by minutes. I love that I was so brain fried by the end of that grind that you actually see me deciding what to replace with Metronome, just to remember that it doesn't matter, it's the only move I can use now. Finally, it's Brock time. My first ever Metronome move ended up being Outrage, so we're off to a shockingly strong start. I was assuming I'd just do an electric move because that's how bad my luck usually is. As soon as I go to the route east of town, I start feeling the pains of the Metronome challenge. Sometimes you get really great moves and have an easy time sweeping through their teams. Other times you run out of power points doing nothing and have to restart the game to your last save in order to get out of the fight. Yeah, I quickly learned the lesson of saving before each trainer. In Mount Moon, I made sure to grab both Moonstones and used one to evolve Comments. We can still only use Metronome, but there's literally no reason not to evolve her to get better stats. I also take the time to catch another 5 Clefairy. This takes forever since they only have a 6% encounter rate, and since I can only use Metronome, I can't risk accidentally making them faint, so I just throw Pokeballs and hope that I get it. And if I use too many Pokeballs, I have to reload my save since money is limited at this point in the game. This process takes absolutely forever. On my way through though, I took the Helix Fossil. I knew that if I didn't say what I took, you'd all ask. Actually, now that I think about it, everyone asks me anyway. Comments are good for the YouTube algorithm. So, I have an amazingly named team of Clefairies now, but I can't actually use them yet. They don't have Metronome, and since we have one Pokemon who does, I'm not allowed to just use Pound to level them. Instead, I have to have them start the fight and then switch for comments to do the actual fighting. It's slow, and it's really a pain, but it's my only choice. No time to train them up right now, though. We need to fight our rival. First is his Pidgeotto, and we end up scratching for big damage, and then sparking to finish him. Not bad. Takedown one-shots Rattata, but I Encore Abra, so that wastes a power point. Dragon Breath ends him, and Bulbasaur is out, but I end up missing a Grass Whistle and get put to sleep. When I wake up, I flash, hit a weak Poison Sting, and then fall asleep again. Only 2 power points left. Eventually, I wake up and finish it with Psychic. See, this is why I need to train up more than one Clefairy, because power points are going to be a serious problem. In fact, the Trainer Dance area of Nugget Bridge and the route above it is a bigger challenge than our rival himself, since we need to go back to the Poké Center to gain more power points between every single fight. Because you just don't know how many it'll take to win the fight, or even if you will win the fight. I'm just thankful that I don't have a serious grind yet, because I can only imagine how bad grinding is going to be when relying on the most random move in the game. Let's worry about that later though, it's Misty time. We got super lucky on our first try, getting Magic Leaf on the first round and Shadow Ball on the second, hitting super effective moves on both Pokemon for one-shots. We're a high level, so I decide to go straight for the SSN for the rival fight. I end up buffing my defense early with the Defense Curl and Skull Bash, but overall the fight went how you'd expect. I one-shotted his team with Mist Ball, Ice Beam, and Aurora Beam, with only one dud move going off. The Electric Gym Trash Can puzzle goes well with me getting on the second try, so I go straight after him. I think this is going to be the last fight where we're over-leveled, though. I hope I don't have to grind soon. Voltorb gets confused off Confuse Ray and finished with Thunder, and Pikachu goes down to some Icicle Spears and Water Spout, but not before he paralyzes us. With Raichu, our worst fears have finally come true though. We use Howl, Magic Coat, Arm Thrust, Confusion, Missed Supersonic, and ran out of power points with Slack Off. This is why we need multiple Clefairies. We aren't going to have enough power points to fight larger teams without extra good luck. On my second try, I ended up using a move that made ourselves faint due to picking Memento. I knew that would happen sooner or later. Third try and we swept our way through without having any real trouble. Rock Tunnel itself is actually worse than the gyms because we have quite a few required trainer fights, and we don't have many power points to go around, so I had to stock up on escape ropes to leave and heal between fights. I haven't had a run where Rock Tunnel was this slow since my Fire Red Magikarp only challenge months ago. As soon as I get through with Rock Tunnel, I head for Saladon. Let me show you a helpful little trick. 2 of the very few power points up in this game are really close to each other here in Saladon. I use both on Metronome right away to get as many as we can, bringing our max up to 14 uses. The Rocket Hideout is miserable, by the way. Lots of stuff can poison you, and with how the fights tend to drag out with Metronome, we faint a lot. I would say that 1 in every 3 trainers is able to take us out, and that's with me going to the Poké Center to restock on power points in between most fights. It's not exactly hard, but it's very slow and random. Giovanni actually went well, unlike most of the trainers. It took a lot longer than I'd hoped to beat Onyx, but we managed to whittle down the whole team and win with a few power points to spare. I was never really in danger of fainting though. The biggest danger right now is the power point issue. Time for the Grass Gym. Right off the bat, I get paralyzed and hit a Solar Beam, so yeah, not exactly going the best. If I recap everything blow by blow, we're going to be here for years, so if you want to see every last move, they're on screen. But the downfall in this battle is both terrible paralysis luck and hitting weirdly high amount of grass and water moves. I fought that Vileplume for ages, and if I could have gotten one flying or fire move, I know that I would have one-shotted it, but it just never happened. Eventually, after 20 whole attempts, I managed to finally hit a flying move and win, although even that was close. I really didn't think the Grass Gym of all places was going to be this brutal, but if this was awful, the Pokemon Tower rival fight is going to be damn near impossible. I decided to grind up the last 2 levels on Twitter that I needed to learn Metronome on her, then use a Moonstone to evolve her. She's a lower level, but at least this gives me an extra 10 uses of Metronome across the whole party. With that done, it's rival time. Our first 2 attacks weren't any good, and we got sand attacked, but between paralyzing him with Dragon Breath and him becoming infatuated, he got shut down hard, and we eventually finished him off. Gyarados is out, so now our attack and accuracy are both down. A handful of wasted Metronomes later, and we switched for comments, and right away we crit with Crunch, taking him out. Growlithe also has Intimidate, so Comment's attack is down, although Iron Defense keeps us tanky. It only takes 1 Horn attack to win thanks to the level advantage. Kadabra is an absolute jerk and disables Metronome, so I'm forced to switch for Twitter, and then back to Comments so that I don't break the rules. But I get hit by Kinesis, lowering my accuracy again. Dive one-shots it, and Venusaur is last, but goes down to 1 present. Now I have access to most of the map, so it's time to catch 50 Pokemon again. I'd gladly rather spend an hour getting 50 Pokemon to get an experience share to level up my other Clefairies to level 29, rather than having to do switch leveling for the rest of the time. I try to catch everything that I can from the Safari Zone to help bolster the numbers, because as you could imagine, it's pretty hard to whittle down a Pokemon to catch it with Metronome. Partway through, I take a crack at the Poison Gym, but I quickly run into a problem. Koga doesn't just hit me, he messes with our accuracy and hits Toxic. I really can't afford to waste turns with this guy, but wasting turns is most of what Metronome does. More Pokemon with Metronome would for sure help, so I really do need to get that experience share. Alright, so I need to give you a warning. I've had a lot of people ask to see the footage of the in-between major battle stuff more often, but I usually don't show it because it is aggressively boring. But people keep asking for it, so I'm gonna show you a bunch of the footage and I'm gonna speed it up in editing. Seriously though, if you have epilepsy, just close your eyes. So what you're looking at right now is 1 hour and 1 minute of straight up leveling Clefairies with experience share. I made the footage a little smaller so it's easier to look at without having your whole screen be a flashing light. Since I can only use Metronome, I just have to fight trainers with random outcomes of Metronome and hope it works out. Naturally, I have to save in between most fights and restart the game if I run out of power points so that I don't break the rules. In fact, there was one time in this hour-long chunk where 2 Clefables used Memento and made themselves faint. During the grind, one of the Clefairies hit level 29 and learned Metronome, so I used my last Moonstone on it to evolve it, but honestly, progress has been incredibly slow. This is why I usually don't show much of this stuff. There's not really any challenge to this, it's just me watching videos on the internet while I mash the A button in a Pokemon game for hours. Even after getting 4 Pokemon with Metronome, I still routinely fail attempts at Koga for the same reason that I said before. His whole team manipulates accuracy and he can use Toxic, so even a few wasted turns can snowball out of control. Finally, my whole team has Metronome, and this battle is still nearly impossible, and that's with 2 of our Clefables having leftovers to heal them every turn. 24 attempts in, and I have this run that perfectly shows off how useless Metronome is. For half of the fight, Muck is frozen, and I still can't put it away. I end up losing because my whole team faints to a bunch of unlucky crits, but the one Clefable who has no power points left on Metronome. This is, without a doubt, in my mind, the single least fun and most frustrating Pokemon challenge I have ever done. Worse than 1 Magikarp in Fire Red, worse than 1 Sunkern in Crystal. Like, genuinely, I would rather go redo the Magikarp challenge than keep doing this one. During this battle, I genuinely wanted to give up on the challenge for the first time in 23 Pokemon challenges. But you know me, I'm the most stubborn man alive. I decided that I wasn't willing to give up, especially this far in, so I just kept on going. Eventually, after getting the entire team to be at least level 40 and grinding out another 20 attempts, I got this one where I managed to beat Koga, and even with a strong start, I almost managed to run out of Pokemon by the end because Metronome is just that unreliable. Man, if Koga is this hard, I am not looking forward to the rest of the run. Next is the Fire Gym, and the combo of Leftovers and Clefable having lots of health really saves me, as I get hammered by Fire Blasts early before putting Growlithe to sleep with Spore and ending it with Psycho Boost. Ponyta is hit with Future Sight, but we end up skill swapping, giving Ponyta a far better ability. We hit Toxic not long after though, so I take the chance to switch to Twitter to get rid of my lowered special attack since Ponyta is doomed anyway. A few turns of mostly wasted metronomes later, and Ponyta is finally down. Third is Rapidash, and its Fire Blast hits a lot harder. It only took 2 to make us faint, so it's back out to comments. We ended up going down to a critical Fire Blast before Rapidash finally starts missing. Our move choice is absolutely awful though, so we're giving up too many opportunities to get finished off. Eventually, a Jump Kick does the job. Last is Arcanine, so our attack drops from Intimidate as we try and use Recycle and get knocked out as a result. Twitch is out and manages to paralyze Arcanine with Bounce but gets fully healed. Through shockingly good luck though, we finally get a good move and hit Self-Destruct for the win. Finally, it's Silph Co rival time. Pidgeot Feather Dances us to lower our attack, but we take it out reasonably quick. Gyarados is out though, so our attack is down 3 stages, so I switch to Twitter to remove it. We end up getting a pile of dud moves as Gyarados finally figures out that Dragon Rage is a solid move to use against me. We only barely end up taking it out without fainting, and we end up setting up a sunny day as Growlithe comes out, although he uses Takedown rather than a fire move. Comments is back out, and we just keep using terrible moves until finally we hit a Rock Throw to feint him. Alakazam is next, and I get incredibly lucky, body slamming him for an easy knockout. I really needed a strong move there. Last is Venusaur, and once again, I skill swapped him, giving him a way better ability. Things get dragged out long as we get put to sleep for ages, and we get so many duds to the point that we run out of metronomes on comments and have to switch for Twitch, a much weaker Clefable. 2 moves in, and we finally end this never-ending fight. After that has to be the weirdest fight we've had all run. On my very first attempt at Giovanni in the Silph Co building, I hit 3 one-hit KO moves in a row. I have never pulled that off normally, let alone while using Metronome. That blew my mind. His last Pokemon was just a Rhyhorn, and it took a few hits to take down, but I don't think we were ever in danger. Now it's Psychic Gym time. We start with Frustration, but because our friendship level is high, it does almost nothing. I get lucky and Kadabra hardly tries to attack and even fails moves due to trying to stack future sights. We end up singing a Perish song, so naturally I have to switch to not faint, and Sabrina does the same thing on her last turn, so we're against Mr. Mime now. She keeps buffing her defense, but one critical sludge takes her out easily, so Kadabra is back out. I end up blowing through most of my power points before finally hitting superpower for the knockout. Venomoth is next, and we confuse it early with Swagger, but she fully heals to remove it, leaving it with raised attack. I switch to Twitch due to PowerPoint issues and miss a Sky attack that would have knocked it out for sure. Many turns of hitting ourselves in confusion later, and we're back to hitting a bunch of weak moves. We ended up getting so many duds that by the time we faint, we hit 1 good move. I send out Instagram out of desperation, get confused, and hit myself, then buff with Acid Armor. Then I hit Frustration for a Sliver. This luck is next level bad. Thunderbolt leaves it with a chunk of health. Cross Chop leaves it with a sliver, and finally Stomp finishes it. Last is Alakazam, and we actually get a few hits in before fainting. Subscribe is out and instantly gets rocked by Psychic and doesn't last long. The wrestling game is out and gets crit and goes down to 1 Psychic, so it's finally back to comments. The only Pokemon with power points left. We put him to sleep, hit him with Powder Snow, and finish him with Comet Punch for an incredibly stressful victory. Finally, we're on to the last gym. There's a bit of comedy gold early with Rhyhorn and Comments giving each other scary faces on the same turn, but Rhyhorn was pretty easy between Confusion, Brick Break, and burning it with a Blaze Kick. Pain splitting a nearly dead Pokemon to heal it is easily one of the dumbest things I've had Metronome do, though. We ended up hitting Vice Grip on Nidoqueen twice in a row, something that is absurdly rare, then hit Horn Drill for a 1-hit KO. That was crazy. Nidoking is out and we hit Swagger, but our health is just too low and Poison takes us out, so it's back to Twitter. Bone Club hits us hard and Nidoking takes himself out in the confusion. Dugtrio hits us as we use Rest and lose some turns. We wake up and use Transform, a complete waste of my time since I can only use Metronome, so I have to switch to Twitch to undo it. Twitch hits a critical Ancient Power, but it doesn't do much as Earthquake is really taking us down. Overheat finally makes him faint. Last is another Rhyhorn, and we start double slapping. Not exactly a winning move. We go down to Earthquake, back to Twitter, and Clamp wrecks him and gets us the last badge. Before the Elite Four is one more rival battle. Pidgeot goes as usual, Feather Dance ruins our attack, and we get a bunch of duds before winning with one big move, Psycho Boost in our case. Rhyhorn is next, and I switch to remove my debuff as Subscribe gets hit hard with Takedown. Icicle Spear does decent damage, and eventually we hit a Bubble Beam to end it. Gyarados takes us out fast, so it's on to the wrestling game. We don't get great moves, so Hydro Pump makes short work of us. Instagram is next, but gets one shot on a critical hit. Out to Twitch, and Gyarados is doing a lot worse moves, so we manage to poison it and whittle it away with weak moves until Gyarados finally goes down. Fourth is Growlithe, and I hit Acid Armor right away to get tanky. He undoes some of it with Leer, but we hit Muddy Water for a one-shot. Fifth is Alakazam, so Metronome is disabled, forcing us to switch to comments. He keeps spamming Calm Mind to buff himself, and we get a few good hits in before he disables Metronome again, so I have to switch for Twitter. Just to get nailed by a really powerful Psychic twice, making us faint. Back to comments, and Rapid Spin finishes him. Last is his Venusaur, and we heal Bell to do nothing as he uses Growth, but our next turn we hit Aeroblast for a much needed one-shot. Although we won without much trouble, we don't stand a chance against the Pokemon champion yet, so I have to get grinding. This is easily the worst grind of the entire game since I need to get the team to at least level 60 to stand a chance. I end up having to use an experience share for a massive chunk of it since the lower level Pokemon couldn't win a single fight in Victory Road due to how unreliable Metronome was, so I instead let the high level ones fight. At least when they hit a move with Metronome, it does passable damage. I also got the last Moonstone that was sitting around, so I have 4 Clefables and a few more PowerPoint ups. 2 days of intermittent grinding later, and this is our team. I wanted to get all of them to at least level 60, but I felt like I was going to go insane if I didn't at least take a shot at the Elite Four soon. As you can tell, the already decently high level ones became way higher level thanks to mostly grinding with experience share, so that'll hopefully carry us. Make your final guesses on if you think I can win or not. Let's do this. First is Ice Trainer Lorelei, and we slowly lose over the course of 10 minutes. Anticlimactic, I know, but if I were to recap this entire fight leading up to losing, you'd fall asleep because most of it is just us failing to attack. The luck required to win battles this big and against such strong Pokemon is insane, so I decided that if I can't beat a member of the Elite Four in under 2 hours of attempts, I'll go grind more. On my third try, I get this run. Dugong takes big damage off a Skull Bash and goes down to 1 Shockwave, but I use more power points than I wanted. Cloyster gets affected by Perish Song, so I switch early to Twitch, although Cloyster does set up spikes, so switching will hurt from now on. I decide to just switch back and forth between my Pokemon with leftovers to save on power points while Perish Song ticks down, but Lorelei is smart and switches to Slowbro rather than fainting. Metronome gives me Skull Bash again, and a few weak moves in, I get Petal Dance. It lasts a few turns, so that helps me save on power points and takes out Slowbro. Cloyster is back and already using Protect to try and get me to waste my power points. I hit myself a handful of times and waste return as she uses Protect. A boatload of wasted power points later and we recover to stay healthy and end up switching to comments. Eventually we get very lucky and I manage to land a Solar Beam to take her out. Jinx is next and I instantly one-shot it with Explosion. Nice to take it out, but that was our strongest Pokemon. Last is Twitch versus Lapras. Once again, through amazing luck, we take in Sunlight and hit another Solar Beam and critically hit it for a one-shot. I heal up between fights and move on. Second is Fighting Trainer Bruno. Onix takes a massive bite early, but we get 3 duds before getting in a move that can finish it. Second is Hitmonchan, and we lose a power point to Endeavor, but then hit a powerful Psybeam. Our last power point is Reflect, so we're forced to switch comments for Twitch. Constrict does next to nothing, and we take big damage, and Agility doesn't really help us, but Weather Ball manages to finish him. Hitmonlee nails us with a massive Brick Break, leaving us with very low health, but we kick back with a Mega Kick, one-shotting him. We then self-destruct on Machamp for a critical one-shot. That was beautiful. Last is another Onix. Hyper Fang and Focus Energy were nothing special, but Howl powers us up and Explosion finishes it off. This battle took us 4 tries. Third is Ghost Trainer Agatha. First turn, we get Water Spout, doing massive damage but not quite getting the one-shot, so Agatha has time for a full restore as we hit ourselves in confusion. I was hoping not to waste power points on Gengar, but it takes quite a few before we hit a critical Hydro Pump for a knockout. On a Haunter, I luck out and hit a massive Sacred Fire and cause a burn, followed by knocking her out with a Crush Claw. Arbok screeches at us and lowers our defense multiple times, but we end up self-destructing for another quick knockout. Her second Gengar is out and she poisons us fast. It was looking bad, but eventually we hit a Hydro Cannon for a one-shot. Last out is Haunter, and I managed to finish it fast between it using Curse and us hitting Confusion. As smooth as that seemed, this was my 10th attempt at the battle. Fourth is Dragon Trainer Lance. It starts off as well as it possibly could, with us critically hitting Gyarados with a Thunder Punch first turn. That was incredible. Aerodactyl goes down fast thanks to a critical waterfall after a few turns. Out next is his terrifying Dragonite though, and I'm just not getting lucky on my moves. A critical strength does great damage, but he heals with a berry. He just keeps using Outrage until Comments goes down and we switch for Twitch. I bring him to low health fast, but Lance uses a full restore, so this isn't over. I get lucky and hit a Super Fang to try and cut his health in half, and end up using Pain Split that did nothing. We hardly hang on from Hyper Beam as we bring him to critical health with Endeavor and finish it with Flail. Next is one of his Dragonairs, and Mega Punch instantly brings it to low health as it finishes us with Hyper Beam. Twitter wastes our advantage by using Teleport and Lock On, but Body Slam ends it. Last is his final Dragonair. We hit a massive Dragon Claw right away but get paralyzed fast and hit with Hyper Beam. One Cross Chop ends it. Believe it or not, this was actually the first try. I use every last elixir and ether that I have on getting Metronomes back and move on. Finally, we're onto the Pokemon Champion. I start amazingly by hitting a Shockwave and a Slash to take Pidgeot down. Second is Alakazam, and Psychic hits hard, as knockoff crits for a third of his health. A second Psychic brings us to below half, and we slam him for the KO. I'm more surprised that Slam hit than that Metronome landed on it. Rhydon is third, and we use Focus Energy as he misses Scary Face. We charm him to drop his attack as he hits his second Scary Face. Air Cutter does next to nothing, as does his Rock Tomb. Finally, we get Waterfall for an easy knockout. Gyarados is fourth, and Dragon Rage always hits us for 40, but yet again, through incredible luck, we hit Thunder Punch and take him out. Arcanine hits us with Flamethrower, but then we use Explosion and one-shot him. Last is his Venusaur, and we miss Guillotine. How incredible would it have been if that hit? We hit Sludge for decent damage as he keeps using Growth. Swift takes out another chunk, and Solar Beam brings us to low health. Facade hits him hard, but we go down to a second Solar Beam. Twitter is out, but gets one shot with a critical Solar Beam. This is getting rough. Subscribe is on the field, and we sing a Perish song. We just need to survive long enough now, but Solar Beam crits us for a one-shot. Instagram is out, and we only have 2 of the weaker Pokemon left. Venusaur ends up using Solar Beam, dooming himself, as although he takes us out and we send out our last Pokemon, Perish Song ends it, and we survive by the skin of our teeth. That puts us in the Hall of Fame. I actually got really stubborn on that last Pokemon Champion fight and ended up trying for 3 hours rather than just 2, but it paid off in the end. Did you see how long this took? That's not even counting all the times that I had to reset the game during the Elite Four and a couple of other battles, so this probably took me more like 80 to 85 hours. December is still going though, and I'm gonna keep doing your most requested runs. That means that next Saturday, I'm gonna do another one of the Pikachu only runs that you guys seem to like so much, capping off December with only one Pikachu in Gen 2. Subscribe, ring the bell, stay tuned. If you want to see me do more Pokemon challenges like this, please let me know in the comments or on Twitter. I can always use more ideas from you guys on what I should do next. Also check out the playlist in the description if you want to watch all the Pokemon challenges that I've already uploaded. If you guys want to see more Pokemon stuff from me, my friend What a Geek and I just finished a black and white randomizer playthrough over on his channel and are moving on to a Gen 1 randomizer. Also come to my Twitch TV streams and let me know that this video sent you. It's always cool to hear how you found the channel. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and until next time, have a nice day.